It sounds like a lot of you have been using the new Extreme Low Odor system, so I'm going to show you 3 different ways to remove the product. So on her nails here, we have the Extreme Low Odor product on her nail here, and we do have the ManiQ Top Coat over the top of that. So when you're soaking off your product, you always want to at least go through and remove the shine. Break up that shiny surface, and if you are using a hard gel top coat, if you're using maybe the stain resistant, or if you're using the ultimate finish, you do have to make sure that you remove that completely. Those will not soak off. But our ManiQ Top Coat, this will soak off because it is a soft gel. So I'm going to take one of our dappen dishes and make sure this is clean. Make sure that you don't have any acrylic liquid in there at all or anything in there. And I'm going to grab our onto the next polish remover. This is an acetone based polish remover. And I'm just going to pour enough product in there for her to soak her finger in and to completely submerge that nail. But you guys, I don't always recommend this as the best technique because anytime you're putting that finger directly into that acetone, that is going to start to dry out their skin a little bit. So in my personal opinion, this is not the best technique for the skin because again, that extra exposure to the acetone. But again, if you are somebody that does not use the electric file, this is going to be the way that you're going to soak them off. Okay, so we're going to have her go ahead into the dappen dish. Now what I've got here is we've got Kira's phone and we're going to actually set the timer so that you guys can see exactly how long this is going to take to soak off this product all the way through. So we're going to go ahead and start our timer. We'll set that off to the side. We're going to put her finger off to the side here, but we're going to leave that in there the whole time. Make sure that your client is keeping those fingers in that bowl of acetone. Make sure that she's not putting them in, taking them out, putting them in, taking out. So you guys, when I'm removing nails, now, and I should have probably done this on our first nail, but I got ahead of myself and that's okay. But what I like to do is come in and first of all, I'm going to check underneath to make sure that her hyponychium isn't poking out anywhere. And I'm going to clip off that free edge. So we're just going to clip off a little bit of that. This way, when we go to do our removal, I'm going to go ahead and do both of them now. When we do our removal, this is going to be less product that we're going to have to worry about filing off. Okay, so on our first nail here, I'm going to turn my speed up to about 15,000 RPMs. Again, I'm using my safety bit Coarse. And on this one, I'm just going to start to take down some of that bulk. Okay, we are going to soak part of this nail, but if I go through, remove a lot of that bulk, my soaking time is going to be much less. So the more you can remove with the safety bit, the more you can remove, just electric filing, the shorter your soaking time is going to be and the quicker your service is going to be. I'm just going to kind of clean up that free edge just a little bit there. So as I'm working, I'm kind of looking from the free edge a little bit so that I can see the thickness. Make sure that you see how thick that product is so that you know that you're not going all the way down to that natural nail and causing any damage. So you can also see that I kind of work in different areas. I'm not just kind of grinding all the way through in one spot at a time. If we're again going through the same spot over and over and over, that's going to start to build up heat on my bit and it's going to start to build up heat onto her nail. So stay kind of in motion, but you can also see I kind of go in a couple of different motions. I work in kind of a circular motion, I work by just pulling that bit towards myself, and I do kind of a feathering motion. So just kind of depending on where I'm working on that nail, you can use all of these different techniques, and you can start to see we've taken down quite a bit of that bulk, but there is still a little bit of that product on the nail. So now at this point, I could either go to my sanding band and completely remove all that product, or I'm going to show you also how to soak off the rest of that product. So this one we've removed the majority of the bulk, but I am going to switch back to my sanding band, and this is going to help to give that nail a little bit more texture. I'm going to turn my speed down to about 5, 6, 7,000 RPMs and just go through kind of like we'd be prepping the nail, but just enough to kind of give, like I said, give a little bit of texture to that nail so that it will allow that acetone to kind of penetrate into that acrylic a little bit quicker. All right, just dust her off here. So what we're going to do, again, we're going to grab the onto the next polish remover. I'm going to take a little bit of cotton. People tend to overuse their cotton and they will take this whole entire chunk and put that on the nail. You guys, that's not necessary, and it's actually going to waste product. So what I like to do is just kind of take a small little piece, just about that size, maybe even less. I kind of open it up a little bit so it's not quite so compact. When you open it up a little bit more like that, it's going to actually hold a little bit more of that acetone. So I'm going to pump a little bit of that into my cotton. Now you guys, you can see how saturated that cotton is. Okay, I want that practically dripping. You can definitely see it's dripping. So make sure that you've got a good amount of acetone in there. I'm going to take her nail. I'm going to get my foil up underneath. Get that completely saturated piece of cotton right onto her nail. We're going to fold that over, fold that up, and just wrap that up. Okay, so now this one is going to sit for probably about maybe 5 minutes or so, maybe up to 10 minutes as well. Okay, so let's come back to our third nail. So this is the nail that I am going to completely remove all of our product, about 15,000 RPMs with my safety bit, Coarse. Same techniques as I was using on this nail here. Just going to kind of go through. I shortened up that nail, clipped off that free edge. We're going to go through, and again, kind of those circular motions. We're going to remove all of this product down to just kind of a thin layer. Again, same techniques, kind of those circular motions, pulling that bit toward myself, working through that whole entire surface of the nail, making sure that I'm not leaving my bit in one spot over and over. Now, we've had some people ask us, why does the ELO product take longer to remove? And you guys, it really doesn't. We haven't had any issues with it taking longer to soak off. But again, if you're using the techniques where you're filing product off, file the majority of it off, and then you can soak, or you can just completely file it all off, it's going to go quick and easy. You guys, this isn't really a long process. It's just knowing how to file or how to prep the nail to soak and get all of that product off. Okay. Toenail clipper here. I'm just going to clip off just a little bit more of that free edge there. And I had just a little bit of that product kind of hanging off there. Just wanted to get that out of the way. One less thing to have to file. And again, you guys, as I'm getting closer to her nail, now I can start to see where her natural smile line is. If I look from that free edge, I can definitely see that my product is starting to thin out. This is where I do a lot more of that kind of feathering technique. I'm gonna just go through doing those feathering motions. Now I can start to see, I'm not sure if you guys can see that up close on camera, but there is a tiny little area here that I have broken through that acrylic. So it is a tiny little spot of her natural nail showing. So I want to make sure that I'm aware of that and that I don't go back through that area and file. Okay, so you only want to take this down to a very, very thin layer. Once we've got that very thin layer, then I am going to switch back to my sanding band. We'll go ahead and turn our speed back down to about 5,000 or 6,000 RPMs. And I'm just going to come right through that nail, again, almost like we were prepping the nail. And again, kind of that feathering technique, that feathering motion. And once you've got that product down to this thin of a layer, you're going to start to notice, again, I've got a little area right over here, a couple of little areas over here, that you're going to start to see that natural nail start to show through. And I don't know, again, you guys, if you can see that right on camera or not, but that natural nail is starting to show through. So again, I want to make sure that I'm avoiding those areas and I'm not filing over the surface of those areas. And at this point, you can kind of slow down a little bit more because you do want to be a little bit more careful. You want to be a little bit more cautious as to where you are filing. And those areas are going to start to break through a little bit quicker. Okay, so make sure, slow it down a little bit. Only file where you need to file to completely remove that product. So at this point, what I would do is just go through, shape up her nail. If you need to push back cuticles at all, you can push back cuticles. If you're kind of doing a manicure and cleaning up a little bit, you can definitely do that. And then I'm going to go through with my 180 buffer. I am going to go through and buff this surface so that she's got a nice smooth finish to her nails. Okay, so if you really want to go nice and smooth, after you do the 180 buffer, you can go into the 240. And these actually, it's a 240 file combo. So it's got the file on one side and the buffer on the other. So again, if you needed to do any shaping, you can definitely use that part. And then flip over, and that 240 is going to give you a really nice smooth finish. You can either finish with a top coat if you need to. You can cleanse with a little bit of swipe. Come in there, cleanse that nail off. Or you can just simply finish with a little bit of rose oil on that nail. Now let's come back to our first nail here. I'm going to hit stop on this. So we've been in there for 19 minutes, 13 seconds. And we're just going to stop that timer. So now we can kind of see how long this is actually taking. Okay, so you guys can see that it hasn't completely dissolved yet. All I'm doing is just kind of sloughing off the top layer. You know, whatever has dissolved, you can definitely take that off. Now don't try to get in there and really scrape that off, because again, we don't want to damage any of her natural nail. But I am going to come in, because I forgot to do it earlier, I'm going to come in and clip off that free edge. So we can come back and use that file to kind of retexture that surface a little bit more, so that we can go back into our acetone and remove a little bit more. Let's go back in there. We're going to start our timer one more time. We're going to come back over to our other nail over here, and I'm just going to kind of wiggle and kind of slide that off. Now you guys can see there's just a little bit of product left on this nail. So about half the time it took to remove.
Probably less than half, honestly.
Yeah, remove from that first nail. So again, I'm just kind of using my little tool here to kind of scrape off. And again, you guys, when you're getting down to that natural nail, you want to be careful that you're not really digging into that natural nail, and you are just kind of sloughing off that top layer. Now let's go back to our sanding band here, and we'll keep our speed on low again, about 5,000 RPMs. And I'm gonna just go through and again, just kind of feather through that nail and remove any last little bits of acrylic that may be on there. Now I can see there's just a little bit more product on here. I could go through with the sanding band here and continue to remove that, or if there's a little bit more, you can always go back to your foil. Now a lot of times what I like to do at this point is I will open that foil back up. If you've got a lot of acrylic stuck in there, grab a new piece of cotton, or you can just resaturate that one with a little bit more acetone and then just rewrap that and soak. So that one's gonna take maybe another minute or so. Again, we've been soaking on this first one for about almost 22 minutes here, and it's still not quite completely dissolved. So you guys can really start to see the importance of using the electric file or filing down the bulk of that product before you try to soak anything off. Okay, so again, you guys, if we were to leave this on maybe for another minute or so, it's definitely going to remove all that product. But let's go ahead and take a look here. And again, sometimes I kind of give that little wiggle. That way it'll kind of slough off some of that product into the foil. And then I think we're actually almost there. There's just a little bit more on the side, a little bit more right down on that edge. And you guys, again, be careful that you're not trying to, if there is a little product, don't try to scrape it off. Just slough off what has dissolved. So just a tiny little bit more right over there. So maybe instead of trying to put my foil back on, again, I'm going to grab my E-file and just kind of feather over that. Maybe just go through the rest of the nail as well, making sure that there's no more product stuck on anywhere. Okay, and I think we are good for our removal there. So again, you can come back in with your buffers, smooth out the nail. Let me come back with my 180 first. And you guys, I do like to what we call graduate our grits. So you're going to start with your 180 and then go to your 240. You're going to graduate from the more coarser finish to a finer finish. And that way you're going to get that really nice smooth finish all the way through that nail. So start with your 180 and then you can go into your 240 to really get that refinement. All right, so again, we've smoothed that out. We're gonna finish with a little bit of our rose oil. Just dust her off a little here. Okay, so those two nails are ready to go. And you guys, you can see we've done both of these nails all in the same time, or still less time than it took to do this first one here. So I think we're gonna go ahead and let this kind of finish soaking. We'll slough it off as we go, and we'll let you guys know the final amount of time that it took to completely soak off from start to finish. All right, you guys, we have been soaking this nail for 44 minutes and 36 seconds, okay? We're calling it. We're calling it quits. We're gonna stop the timer, and it's got just a little bit left on here, okay? So again, you guys, this shows you that this whole soaking process, if all you're doing is soaking off and you're not using that electric file, this is really gonna take you much longer. So this is really why we do recommend using the electric file. You can either file off all or part of it and then soak. But again, you guys, using that e-file is definitely going to help you really speed up your removal process and make it a little bit easier. See, you guys, there's still a little bit of product on that nail that still just doesn't want to quite come off. So in salon, if I were soaking off, I probably would go back into that acetone and give it just a couple of more minutes. But you guys, for purposes for demo today, we're gonna call it quits here. But again, this is just gonna show you 3 different techniques that you can use to remove your ELO product. Soak off your nails, use that e-file to remove them, and you can still come out with nice, healthy, natural nails at the end. So give these techniques a try, and again, you guys, I would recommend, if you're still needing to soak off, do that technique of filing down the bulk first and then soak off the remaining.